by first of all congratulating the Honourable Lady from Peterborough on what was an excellent maiden speech. It's always a pleasure to follow the delivery of a maiden speech, and this particular Honourable Member has delivered that particularly well. I would have to say that I didn't agree with every point it contained, but I must say it was delivered well, and I have no doubts at all that the Honourable Member for Peterborough will join that distinguished group of Peterborough's alpha women. Mr Speaker, Honourable and Right Honourable Members have drawn attention today to the key obstacles to peace, as well as to the final status issues for negotiations in Israel and Palestine. The starting point of all negotiations must surely be to determine who, in fact, will be at the negotiating tables itself. On the Israeli side, a turbulent but movable coalition, typical of Israel's lively democracy. On the Palestinian side, again, a number of parties, but deeply divided both geographically and ideologically. Let us not forget that for over a decade, the Gaza Strip has been controlled by the Hamas terror group, which is committed to the destruction of Israel. I'd be delighted.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does he agree with me that Hamas cannot be a partner to the peace process unless it changes its ideology, renounces violence and accepts the state of Israel?
I thank the Honourable Member for his intervention. I agree with every point that he made, and I'm sure we'll hear more from the Minister in his summing up. Israel has released Palestinian prisoners guilty of deadly terror attacks as part of Palestinians' demands for the resumption of peace talks. But I join Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and the international community in calling for a return to negotiations without preconditions. It is difficult to see who will be sitting around the negotiating table when the leadership of Gaza and the West Bank is so bitterly divided. The issue of geographical separation is one for the negotiating table. Indeed, it is almost a decade since the now former Israeli Prime Minister proposed a peace offer providing a safe passage route between the West Bank and Gaza. Palestinian President Abbas only recently admitted that he turned down the 2008 offer, which would have provided for an independent Palestinian state containing all of the Gaza Strip, 94% of the West Bank, and the final 6% provided through the long-agreed principle of land swaps. But it is the ideological division between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority which concerns me more than the issue of land. Any peace agreement at this current time would only be formed between Israel and the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, leaving Gaza isolated from a Palestinian state. Yet Israel stands in the middle of the two parties, in more ways than one, Mr Deputy Speaker. Recently, the Palestinian Authority announced that it would no longer pay for the full electricity bill for Gaza, where electricity is provided by Israel. The reasoning behind the decision is widely seen as a means of exerting pressure on Hamas to relinquish its hold on Gaza. Accordingly, Israel has begun reducing electricity and is now vilified by the international community, illustrative of the entire Gaza crisis. I strongly believe that it is in the interest of all parties involved that international actions prioritise the union of a moderate Palestinian leadership that seeks peace, in order to solve the conflict and bring much-needed relief to the people of Gaza, as well, of course, as to Israel and to the West Bank. We must be absolutely clear to the Palestinians, and as my right honourable friend for Chipping Barnet has already stated, that naming schools and squares after terrorists does not show that they are committed to peace. I hope that honourable and right honourable members who choose to dwell on different obstacles to the peace process make clear that although Israel is able to defend itself, we must not underestimate the impact of the divided Palestinian leadership and the repeated mantra that Israel is a temporary entity. I wish the Minister a great deal of much-needed luck in his efforts to encourage Israel and Palestine negotiators to finally sit down together and make the difficult compromises needed to come to this lasting agreement.